an important aspect is what is overtime and who is eligible for overtime. So in India, basically we get measured by, or we get controlled by a couple of laws which tell that who can work for what amount of time, and if you work beyond that time, then it is going to be considered overtime. There are certain tasks and activities which one does and then they are not eligible for overtime. But we are going to talk at least on the standard principles what is overtime. So principally for most of the roles, overtime would be that if you end up working for more than 8 hours on a standard working day. Okay. What does 8 hours mean? 8 hours means outside of your lunch break and tea breaks, which is why you will find a lot of companies saying you need to come to office for 9 hours, but that will have lunch break and tea breaks in it. So if you are spending more than 8 hours working or 9 hours, more than 9 hours with breaks included, then that time would be considered as overtime for most of the roles. There are some roles where this is for 12 hours, but for most of the roles it will be 8 hours of working. Similarly, if you end up working on any holiday, okay, and that also includes the weekly holiday, then it's also called as overtime. Okay. So overtime working, but overtime is also controlled by what kind of a level you are performing. For certain roles, if you are in the worker category, specifically if you're in the manufacturing business, then yes, you would be eligible for overtime. Whereas if you're not in the manufacturing business or not in the factory business, then you would be coming under the overtime gambit as long as you are not performing any supervisory work. Okay. What is a supervisory work? The simplest way to find out supervisory work is if you have any team member below you, or if you are approving the leaves of anybody. While your job descriptions are actually to be used to understand whether you have a supervisory or a managerial role or not, but the simplest layman thumb rule system is, are you having a team reporting to you, or are you approving the leave of anybody? If you are, then overtime is not applicable on you. So broadly speaking, this is the principle, but it would be very good to understand when it is applicable, when it is not applicable, on whom it is applicable by going through your organization's HR policies. The other aspect is how do we ensure that we are paying the appropriate overtime? Overtime is very standard. If a person is applicable or eligible for overtime, then the payment that needs to be made for overtime needs to be made double of the salary. It is not that we are going to pay 1.5 times if you work for the first 4 hours, after that it's going to be 2 times whatever. No. It is straight away double. Even if I work for 1 hour overtime, I get 2 times of my salary as an overtime. And this 2 times of the salary is of the gross salary. Why do we say gross? Because it is 2 times of the fixed cost. And fixed cost is not only basic salary. Fixed cost is everything that is fixed, which is not a allowance. Allowance in our case, because now the way salaries are structured, would probably be only variable pay. But if your organization still has anything which is an allowance, which is not fixed every month, you may remove that. Everything which is fixed is considered part of your CTC, and it is 2 times of that which becomes overtime. Overtime needs to be paid on a monthly basis, cannot be accumulated, it cannot be paid at a later time. And irrespective whether you choose to give compensatory off or not, or give any other benefits, if a person is eligible for overtime, they will get that overtime and you need to pay that.